All right. Welcome to the Better Dad podcast for dads after divorce. This is the ultimate guide for divorced dads ready to rebuild, redefine, and reestablish themselves back into their new normal. Divorce is hard, and being a single dad after divorce makes it even harder. Whether you're navigating co-parenting, rebuilding your confidence, redefining who you are as a divorced man, or just trying to make sense of your new normal, you are not alone. And this is the place for you. All right, guys. So today, I haven't been on YouTube yet. This is going to actually be the first video that I put on YouTube for the divorced dads out there. I am divorced times 3. That's right, divorced times 3. It's not a badge I wear with honor, but it is a badge I wear because it's taught me a lot. I've experienced a lot, and it's got me to where I am today. So, yeah, that's me. I have decided that this is the year for me to go ahead and start my divorce coaching practice to be able to help other dads go through what I've been through 3 times, to help them go through it. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen, and you might as well have some help while you do it because going at it alone is way harder, and there's just so much that you don't know. You don't know until you know, right? And you don't know what you don't know. So having somebody that's already been there, been through it, and like walked in those shoes is a huge help to be able to have that. So I wanted to get on here and make sure that I introduce myself to you guys. My name is Jared. I'm going to be the host of the show. I'm a divorce coach and mediator, all the good things that can help you out in this process. I'm also a single father. So I've been married 3 different times, divorced all 3 of them. None of them are still going on. And every time I became a single father, and every time I learned a lot about the divorce process and also just what it ends up being like once you're a dad all alone in a house, raising kids and doing the thing. So a little bit of my background. I'm from Arizona, and I grew up, went on a mission for the church, came back from a mission, and then literally got married like within 6 months. So I got married super quick, which many might say was my first mistake, is getting married so fast. It's very common in the LDS religion to do that, and it was normal. And the one good thing I'll say about it is that I did know the girl before. I had known her in high school, so I didn't know her very well, but I did know who she was. We actually both played volleyball, so saw her out on the court every once in a while. So she wasn't a total stranger, but still I got married really fast. And then also pretty quickly too, we got pregnant. Probably about a year and a half into the marriage, we got pregnant. We split up while she was pregnant with him. Then when he was born, we actually kind of got back together just for a little bit, see if we could make it work out. Decided pretty quickly that it wasn't going to work, and we ended up splitting after that. So when we split, we filed for divorce. We actually were able to do it without any attorneys, which was awesome. It was helpful because we were both young and poor and, kind of at the beginning stages of life. And so we didn't have a lot of money for that. Fortunately, we were able to, divide assets equally. We did have a house together. We ended up selling. Back then, the economy was so bad. The real estate market was so bad. We actually did a short sale. We did end up selling our house and, divided things from the house however we did. I can't remember very much, except that I let her take whatever she wanted. She ended up moving back into her parents' house, and so she didn't really need a lot or want a lot of what we had. And so I kept a little bit of a few of the things, like some of the bed and furniture and couch and things like that. But long story short is that marriage only lasted about 3 years, probably not quite 3 years from the time we got married and divorced. Or maybe it did go past 3 years, but not together. We were separated for part of that. So, but in our divorce, we used the self-help library, court library, whatever it was called over there, instead of going the attorney route, which was awesome. We were able to, find all the documents that we needed. We were able to use the child support calculators. We were able to do all those things on our own, which saved us a ton of money. And honestly, it was probably the best thing we could have done for us, for the baby. It was the goal was to minimize stress, minimize the difficulty of the whole process, and it ended up working out. So that was really fortunate that it worked out that way for us. Fast forward several years, or not several years later, probably about a year and a half later, she had remarried, and when she remarried, that's when things changed for us. She and her new husband decided that they had the perfect family environment for our baby, and that they should have full custody of him. And they tried to take full custody away from me, which we had agreed on a 50-50 split. So right out the gates, I was dad 50% of the time. I had the baby, the infant, and she had him the other 50% of the time. So what they tried to do is take full custody from me, and to give me 4 hours of supervised visitation a week. That's all they wanted to give me, was 4 hours. So that was pretty crazy. Not really fair, if you ask me. And it made no sense. Like, why would that make sense to do that to the kid, right? The baby to not have both parents right out the gates. Also, just as a parent, like, why would I not have a right to my kid? So what I learned right away, first and foremost, is the importance of fighting for your right as a parent, fighting for your custody time, fighting for your custody rights as well. So, when they tried to do that, they, came hard with an attorney and all that stuff, which gave me no choice, but that then I had to do the same, because that's not something that is worth fighting alone. Uh, a mother with an attorney is going to beat a dad without an attorney probably every day of the week in court. And so I did. I had to hire an attorney as well, and we fought back. And I had to defend myself for all the accusations. I had to defend myself for my competency as a dad and my goals and focus as a dad, as a parent. My work life was, there was a magnifier put on my work life and also on my personal life. And if there's something that I learned out of that too, is that exes do that. Exes will do that. Divorce is crazy. Divorce brings out all the emotions, and it brings out all like the heightened like negativity and things that were probably overlooked and okay in a marriage. All of a sudden they're not okay when you're divorcing. All of a sudden now there are reasons to slander or call out the other parent or tell them that they suck at being a dad or a mom or whatever. So divorce really has a way of doing that. And if you haven't gone through it yet and you think your spouse is amazing and great and perfect, trust me, it can change. Maybe she is amazing and perfect for somebody else, but in that moment, it's going to bring out like the worst of our emotions too, not just them too. Like it does it in ourselves. And so fast forward to today, there's a lot of things that I've learned over the course of the last 17 years about the process, that there's some things that you can do to help in your divorce to make it way better for you personally, but then also for you and the kids, for your goals, all those things. But back then, I didn't know anything except she got an attorney. Crap, I need to get an attorney. I don't want to lose my time with my kid. I felt like, if anybody, I had the most experience being a dad, being a parent. I had two little brothers at home, little brothers. Like, I'm talking actually three of them. I had three that were like 2, 4, and 5 years old that I helped, in diapers all the way up until they were, in elementary school. So like, I already knew how to be with a baby, an infant. I already knew all that stuff. But yet, if I didn't have an attorney fighting for me, then none of that would have mattered. But it's something that I had. So thankfully, and that's not the only reason why I was able to win or to keep my custody with my child. But I'm telling you, it certainly helped. So having skills already, having, knowledge and skills on how to be a parent definitely can go a long way in court. So I ended up, after a couple years of that was annoying, very difficult, very stressful. But after a couple years of that kind of finally calmed down. And at the end of the day, the judge ended up not giving her any of what she asked for. So our 50-50 parenting time and custody and rights, all that stayed exactly the same. So thankfully, thank goodness, I had 50-50 time with my son from day one, and that didn't change until he was a teenager a couple years back, and it was his own choice. Of course, once they're old enough to choose, they can kind of choose, and it's kind of the way it goes. But so that was my first marriage, right? My son was a toddler when I met my what became second wife, and I met her in Arizona. Also, she's from Utah, and I met her right before she was about to move back to Utah. But since we met, fell in love, got married, whatever, um, and I had my kid in Arizona, and his mom was in Arizona. We couldn't leave, so she was actually about ready to go back home to Utah when I met her, but so she had to stay. But anyways, we met and we uh, got married too fast again. I'm gonna say it. That was my biggest problem. Is and it continued to be my biggest problem is getting married too fast. I'm the kind of person that when I meet somebody and I like them, I will go all in until I have a reason not to. It helps with commitment. It helps with giving that true version of myself. But what it did is it clouded my view of the bigger picture. Going all in and being willing to commit, and if your heart is able to do that, that's great. That's, in my opinion, a really good quality to have. But it did not help. It does not help see the bigger picture. And something that I've learned is that you have to weigh the consequences. You have to weigh the pros and cons of every single thing you're doing, whether it's should I get a divorce or should I get married? Should I go all in? Should I be exclusive with this person? Should I introduce them to my kids yet? Should I say this to my ex? Should I not? Should I do this? That you got to weigh the consequences or the cost. That's even better said. You got to weigh the cost of everything. And once you weigh the cost, the pros and cons, you can call it, but actually seeing what life will look like and deciding if that's how you want life to be, then go with it. If you give yourself that fair look of what life is going to look like, and you're like, okay, so if I marry this person, this is what it's going to look like. This is the kind of personality that she has. This is the kind of personality that I have. These are her interests. These are my interests. We're going to be able to do some things together. This is what we'll be able to do there. We can probably do that together maybe once or twice a year. What about the rest of the year? If we don't have any other shared interests, then what? That means all year long, except for like 1 or 2 trips a year, you guys aren't really hanging out together. You're not really, I'm watching football or I'm going to play volleyball, but she's going running and she's, doing crafts or whatever it is. Or, she just wants to be with the kids the whole time and, go on all these trips with the kids, whether I can go or not, she's doing it. That kind of created a little divide. That was a story in my marriage, honestly. I couldn't go out on as many trips as my wife wanted to do with the kids. I had to work. I had to earn money. And honestly, it provided the means for her to be able to do these things with the kids and go back to Utah often with the kids or go on these river trips with her family and all these different things. But I couldn't do them all. I couldn't. It doesn't make sense. At least in my economic status where I was, how much money I was making, it didn't make sense. I couldn't possibly go on family vacations every single month. Now, if I knew before getting married that my relationship would look like needing to go on trips every month, crap, I don't have enough money for that. My job doesn't allow me that much time for that. If I knew, then that might not have been a relationship that I would pursue, right? Also looking at the actual individual. I didn't date my wife long enough to know what she was like during all 4 seasons of the year, to know what she was like at wintertime, to know what she was like in the summertime, to know what sports looks like, what her emotional range of emotions looked like. And this isn't just her. This is about me too. She didn't get a chance to see what it was like for me, what I was like through all those things. It just didn't exist. And so we did not do ourselves any favors by jumping right into a marriage. We met and we got married, I think, within 4 months. let's see, we met in July, August, September, October, November. Yeah, we literally met and got married in 4 months. She wasn't even somebody I knew before, so I can't even use that as an excuse. Crap, am I 18 minutes into this? Jeez. All right. So much for a summary of my story, right? This is long. We got married and immediately started having kids. Had miscarriage. She said, you know what? Let's foster because we might be able to adopt through that process. Okay, cool. Let's do it. She wanted to be a mom more than anything else. And I thought that was great. That's beautiful. And I had my own kid. My kid was a toddler when we met. And she was a fantastic stepmom and was so excited to be a stepmom. And it was like the perfect thing. I was like, heck yeah, let's do this. Honestly, looking back, I think she loved him more than me. And she'll be mad at me for saying that. But she wanted to be a mom more than anything on the face of the earth. And she got it. And that was her focus from then on in our marriage. And it made it really hard. Our dynamic just did not work. We didn't share enough shared interests. And again, we could dive really deep into all of that stuff. But then the fact of the matter is we never had really close of an emotional connection, which I wanted really bad. And then because of us not being as close, I wasn't as good of a husband as I should have been. Definitely made some mistakes. Definitely did some things that I shouldn't have done. Ultimately, every couple of years, it seemed like I was like, hey, we got to do something. Like, this is not working. We are not getting along. We're not doing well. Maybe we need a divorce. And honestly, I brought it up multiple times in our marriage because it was that bad. It was that miserable. And I think we went to marriage counseling once or twice together, and it was like a horrible experience. And so we didn't keep doing that. And I'd been through my own with therapy on my own for some of my own stuff and just knowing that I needed help. I don't know that she ever did on her own. And again, the fact of the matter is through it all, we couldn't get on the same page with things. We just didn't get along great. And I can tell you that we didn't do enough at the beginning of our dating and courtship to know if this was the right thing for us to do to get married. We didn't do enough. So that's something that especially divorced dads, if you're going to go, which I'm sure you will eventually go date again, you got to do that part right. You got to give yourself that time. So her and I ended up getting divorced in 2022. At the beginning of the year, I decided I was like, I really just needed to do this, and went to talk to a therapist again. Wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing anything, that I wasn't seeing things wrong. I was trying my best, still making mistakes. I'm going to put that out there till the day I die. I was not perfect. I hurt her in a lot of ways. But together we could not make things work out. And I saw a therapist for several months to make sure that I wasn't crazy for feeling like that I needed to get divorced and go through with it. And ultimately decided to do it. Filed for divorce in August. She moved out in September. I'm out to Utah, where her family is from. I said, hey, just to make this easier for you and the kids, why don't we move out to Utah so you can have their support? She loved that idea. It's one of the things that I offered to her. Again, we did this divorce with no attorneys, without having to go to court, only to file the paperwork. And that was one of the things that I offered to make it easier for her. And it was going to be a massive sacrifice for me. She had a ton of family out in Utah. I had none. And so it was going to suck for me. And it did. I'll be honest. It did. It totally sucked. But I offered it. I stood behind it. She moved out in September to Utah, and then I followed in October. I stayed behind to, tap loose ends with work in the house and all those things, whatever. And I let her take whatever she wanted out of the house too. I took on all the debt. I owned it all, and then let her take whatever she wanted. I think I had the TV and the entertainment center that held the TV, and I had a garbage bag full of clothes that could fit the kids. And then my own stuff, of course. She let me keep my own stuff, like my disc golf stuff and, camping, hunting, my own hobby things. But as far as the house, she took it all the things inside. And I was happy to let her because I wanted to make this as easy as possible for her and the kids. Literally, that was my goal. I didn't want drama. I literally wanted to just move on from that really difficult marriage and start something better and new. And so that was the end of 2022, and we are now in Utah. And then I dated again, met somebody just a few months, a couple months later, fell in love, dated, amazing relationship, best kisser I ever met and kissed in my whole life. It was beautiful. We got engaged, and then that fell apart after that. So we never actually got married. That was over. A couple months later, met somebody again. I dated a little bit in between until I found somebody. It wasn't just the first person that I dated, but I ended up finding somebody else on a dating app. But the problem with this one was that she lived 3 hours away. I went out there, met her. We talked and talked and talked all day, all night. It seemed like solid for a couple of weeks straight of every night, all night, basically not sleeping. Once I went out there and met her the first time, the very next day, it was like a love at first sight. It was like I'm gonna marry you. Almost knew it on first sight. My drive home, I knew that I was gonna marry this girl. Everything was beautiful, right? And I stand behind it. But her and I ended up getting married the next month. Crazy. What I did not do is weigh the cost of what that relationship would look like. We got married in April. I moved into her place 3 hours away from where I lived in July, very beginning, first week of July. Literally within a week or 2 weeks, everything tanked. Everything went downhill. She no longer wanted to be married to me, wanted to file for divorce. I fought for it. And finally, at the end of August, I decided to file for an annulment and move out, and moved back because she wanted a divorce, but yet she wouldn't do it. She treated me like she wanted out, but she just didn't ever actually leave. And I was not trying to live that kind of life either. And so again, looking at the cost of that relationship and what that looked like, what it looked like for me and for my kids, it made sense that it was time to move on. So like I said, filed for an annulment. There was a few things that were just different than I thought that they would be, pretty significant things. And moved out, got a place in Utah, or back in the valley in Utah. And the divorce went through in October, before Halloween. And then I didn't talk to her from, that time. We've never talked since. We talked a lot after we had moved out, after we had already split. Talked several times. Every time we talked, it was like a back and forth of emotions of, is this the right thing? Should we do this? Should we not do it? And honestly, it was pretty exhausting. It was kind of ridiculous. And so finally it was like, let's just stop talking. Literally, let's stop talking until the divorce goes through. And then, if we feel like we need to reconnect and then say, you know what, I actually miss you, or reconnect and be like, you know what, I'm actually good without you. So yeah, we could do that. But in reality, once the divorce was finalized, neither of us have ever reached out to each other. Like, we're both happy to move on, because the cost of that relationship was just too great. She loved me. I loved her. There was so many things that were just perfect, beautiful, like we always wanted. But there was a couple things that came out of great that were a high cost that just honestly were not worth it. And if we had given more time to it, explored more of what life would look like together, we probably would have figured that out. Probably would have realized that maybe it wouldn't have been the best idea for us to get married. But so dang, 3 freaking divorces. So that's 3. Again, not a badge that I wear proudly, but it's what got me to where I am. So didn't use attorneys on that one either, by the way. So I have, it's a weird way to look at it, but been through 3 divorces successfully without any attorneys, without having to deal with that whole side of the industry, of the divorce industry. After my first divorce, once child custody became a thing, once she had remarried, that's when I got my first real taste of all the court system, with attorneys, with parenting coordinators, with mediation, all that stuff. So I do have experience with that, but I also have 3 different divorces of experience to go through. A lot of people in this space, in the coaching industry, in the divorce coaching industry especially, a lot of people kickstarted that because of their own divorce. I'm literally a walking example of that. Because of my divorce, except not because of my first divorce or even my second divorce, when I felt very, very, very called to do this after my first divorce, I did not quite feel ready yet. I didn't feel like I qualified. I didn't feel like I, had enough credentials, or, who's going to listen to me. I didn't have enough experience in the things that are going to help. But fast forward to my second divorce and then my third divorce, now's the time for me to do it. So 2025 is going to be awesome because I'm here as a coach to help you in the whole process. My target audience is dads. I went through this process as a dad all 3 times, becoming a single father. And every single time, uh, it's never easy, right? It is literally one of the hardest things that you'll do, especially if you want to do it right. If you want to do it the best way for your children, it's not easy. It means that you're going to fight for them. It means that you're going to fight for custody and parenting time. It also means that you're going to do your dang best to have a home where those kids can live, because you don't want to just have visitation because, oh, I'm in a 1-bedroom shared house with other people, and so I can only like have my kids visit. I don't have room for them. Sorry. No, that's not the right way to do it. So you're going to do your best to have a home where your kids can have a bedroom to sleep in, right? And in their own bed to sleep in. And that's not easy. You're going to go through divorce and you're going to have to pay child support. You're going to have to pay alimony. You're going to have to go through those financial things, maybe starting over a new career. Maybe like in my case, the last 2 times I relocated. I literally had to relocate and start over. And mind you, moving out to Utah was a massive financial blow because it took me a really long time to get things going in my business, my real estate business that I was doing. And it got to the point where I actually never got it going. I was on credit cards. And finally it was like, gosh, I can't do this. I got to go back to this other industry that I was in before that I really never wanted to do again, which was roofing sales. Great industry, but for me, it was tough because of injuries and just physical, whatever. But I went back to it because I knew it worked. It was a great industry. The money was good. But I'd gone months living on credit cards after having just taken on a ton of our debt and not having money yet from the equity of selling our house because I sold it in a creative finance way, which is a whole other story, by the way. So yeah, financially, it's going to be hard. So if you're doing it right, the divorce, as a dad, it means you're going to have probably the biggest financial toll on you, which is emotional stress, which can translate all the way down to the kids and their experience through the divorce, and then your relationship with the kids too. So there's a lot to look at. There's literally a lot to look at. It is not a one size fits all thing. It's not just something you can just, close your eyes and cruise through it. Not if you're trying to do it right. And my goal, after having been through 3 of these now, my goal is to help you guys do it right and to do it the best way possible so you can be the best dad that you can be after going through this divorce. So there's a little bit about me. Didn't get into a lot of the details, of course. Those will come probably, throughout other episodes in the future. But I've got 5 kids, you guys. My first marriage, we had 1. He's now 17. My second marriage, we had 4 kids, and they are ages 6 up to 10, almost 11. So 4 beautiful children that her and I share 50-50 custody right now. We get along really good now. As long as I'm not dating anybody or with anybody, we get along just fine. It's usually when I start in a relationship with somebody else that she just doesn't like that, which is too bad. So that's a little bit about me and who I am, you guys. I really look forward to being here for you, being a resource, being a sounding board, being advice. I really want to be your coach through your own divorce process. If it's you, if it's somebody that maybe you're just getting started, or maybe you're already way past it and you've got a good handle on life and you're doing good. That's perfect. That's where I want you to be. So maybe I'm not the one to help you, but I can still we could be a great community for you, of course. But if you know anybody else that's going to go through it or about to, or in the middle of it, a coach is really going to be the biggest advocate for them because it's action oriented. It's, a therapist is going to work on their feelings and emotions of what happened in the past and help them try to, work through those feelings. An attorney is going to help you know the whole legal side of things and help you legally of, dates and costs and processes of the divorce, things like that. But isn't going to be the one to help you with the action items that you need. Like, what do you want in your divorce? What kind of parenting plan do you want? Do you want custody? Do you want 50-50 custody? Do you want, does your work schedule only allow for this or that? What about communication? How are you going to communicate with your ex? And then the other thing too is, and this was the biggest part for me, was that after you go through that divorce and all of a sudden you're alone in the house with the kids, you're now mom and dad. Now you get to do everything. And in my marriage, I had a wife who handled a lot of the stuff at the house that I didn't have to do. I didn't cook, and I basically never cooked. Not good at it. No good at it, actually. And so when I was now dad, single dad with my kids at home, and it was my time with the kids for 5 days straight, or even just 2 days, I do a 5-2-2-5 schedule. On the 2 days, it's easier. But when you got 5 days straight of all the meals that you got to plan and prepare, what do? Right? You can't eat out all the time. Financially, that's expensive, but also it's not the most healthiest decision for the kids either. So what do? You learn to freaking cook, and you can start basic. And I've learned basics. And one of the advantages, if we're looking at silver linings through all this stuff, is my time with the kids. Every parent wants a break, right? Every parent gets so overwhelmed and then they want a break. Well, when you're divorced and you share custody, you get that break built in. So again, it's not ideal. There's actually a lot of suckiness to it. But the advantage is that you get that break and you kind of get a reset, and you can kind of clean your house again and get ready to start all over for the next time that they're going to be back. But it also means that you really only need a good core set of meals that you can cook. I'm getting way ahead of myself. There's so many things that we're going to talk about in this show through the Dads After Divorce community that I'm creating for us. But food, finances, fun, the family dynamic, all that stuff. Like you gotta prepare for it, or else it just kind of happens and it's sloppy and it's not very intentional, and it won't be as good as it could be. And so I want to help you guys be intentional about what the divorce process looks like for you, and then what it looks like after for you. And then especially just as a dad after divorce, we want it to be best for you and for the kids. So thanks for watching, you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I know this went way longer than I thought, or that I was hoping for, but hopefully it was entertaining enough for you. And maybe you'll be back for the next one. Since this is videos on YouTube, like the video, please subscribe to the channel. There's going to be so much good content and valuable things that I'm going to be putting out there for you guys. It's not going to be, I don't have a set schedule yet. So I don't know if I'm going to be just weekly, but I really feel like I want to put out lots of little pieces here and there too. So there's going to be a lot of stuff I'm putting out there for you. I want to bring value to you right now, but then also I want you to join me in our community, the paid community, where you get the meat and not just the potatoes, but you get the meat of everything as well. Also, if you need any individual coaching or being a part of group coaching, I've got all that as well too. So reach out, Jared at betterdaddivorcecoaching.com. So Jared, Jared, at betterdaddivorcecoaching.com, and reach out. Let me know what you're looking at, what your situation is. We can, have that chat, and then see what it is that I've got that can help you, that I can help you through. So really excited about all that. Check out the podcast, subscribe to, the show, download the episodes, leave reviews, ratings, all that good stuff. I'm new to all this too on social media, so I don't know the best way to say all that, but I appreciate you guys being here, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in to the Better Dad Podcast for Dads After Divorce. I hope you enjoyed the show and were able to take something from it that will help improve your own personal divorce journey. Remember, feeling comfortable and confident in your new normal after divorce is a journey, not a race. So for real, take it one dad joke and one small win at a time.